My name's Eve Choi, and I'm the Curator of Horticultural and Environmental Education at Frederik Meijer Gardens and Sculpture Park, and I want to thank you for joining us this weekend as we are celebrating the beauty of irises all weekend long. Now, if you haven't had a chance already, I would encourage you to take a closer look either at some of the beautiful blooms that we've shared from our collection, or to take some time to see if there's any irises in bloom near you. And I would encourage you, as you're taking a closer look at those irises, make careful observations of the colors, shapes, and patterns that you see. Nature's beauty is the perfect inspiration for art, and we're going to be using the observations that we've made of the color, pattern, and shape of irises to inspire us as we create irises using a monoprinting technique with paint. I'll show you what I mean by monoprinting in a little bit, but I want to begin by showing you the materials that we'll need. And we just need a few things. As you see, I have paper, I have paint, and I have a few paint brushes. Now, I chose the colors that were the closest to what I had to the irises that I was inspired by. But get creative here. Even if you don't have the colors of the irises that you see, take a closer look again at the shape and the patterns of those irises and use the colors that you have to bring those shapes and patterns to life. Also, if you don't have a paintbrush at home, that's all right. You can still do this activity with me today. There's lots of materials that you could use in the place of a paintbrush, whether that's an old toothbrush, maybe a Q-tip, a popsicle stick, or a straw. All of those tools could be used to paint with. As I said before, we are going to use a monoprinting technique to paint a picture of an iris. And let me show you how we're going to do that today. It's really easy. You can include as much detail or make it as simple as you want. Again, this is your creation. You use this technique to bring your inspiration, your observations of irises to life. Now, I want my iris to be centered on my picture. To get started, we're going to make a fold in our paper, and wherever you fold your paper, that's going to be the center of your iris. I want it to be in the center of the page, so my fold is down the center. If I want it to be off to the left or to the right, you can just fold it at a different place. And we're going to create monoprints by painting on one side of the paper, folding it, and printing that paint to the other side. When I say monoprint, we hear mono, that's one. We are making one print. Usually when artists make a print, they'll use it to create a whole series of images. We're using a monoprint. We're painting on one side of the paper, folding it to print it once on the other side. Now I'm going to begin by adding some yellow. There's some yellow in the center of the sepal that I'm painting. So I added yellow paint to one side. I'm going to fold, press. I'm making my one print, and then folding back. As you see, that print, also this fold, is the line of symmetry for my flower, for what I'm designing. So not only will the fold be the center of your flower, it's going to be the line of symmetry, which means if you look at that line, your flower is going to be close to a mirror image on either side of the fold. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow. I want it to be a little more elongated there. And as you notice, I'm just adding paint bit by bit. It's easier to add a little at a time. That way you can really control the shape and size of your print. But again, this is your inspiration. Use this to bring your idea to life. So that's where I'm going to stop with the yellow. And then the rest of the sepal is blue. So I'm going to start adding that around. Okay. I'm just, as you can see, I'm kind of adding bit by bit because I want to see how that print comes through. All right. I like the shape that I have there, so I'm going to add a little more. And I'm going to keep doing this until I complete the image of my iris. Now I spent a little bit more time on another print earlier, and you can see what I created there. Now I may add more to this. I cut mine so that my iris was at the center of the square. I didn't add any stems or leaves, but you could most certainly add that to your painting. But what I did, bit by bit, I added paint to one side and printed it over to the other to create my image as a whole. Now, I invite you to take your creativity. You can complete the scene, again, using any other supplies that you have on hand. If you want to add more to the background, you don't have to add just with paint. You can add with crayons, pens, markers. Use whatever you have on hand to complete your iris painting and complete the picture as a whole to make it your own. And again, we're looking at these beautiful, unique flowers to gain inspiration, to create art. And you can really use this. You can be inspired by nature at any time to create art. And this is just one technique that you could use. Again, thank you so much for joining me as we have been using our observations of irises to be inspired to create. I hope that, again, you continue to be inspired by what you see in nature. And don't forget to post the iris art that you create in the comments.